Hello everyone, my name is Joey Isabell and I'm here today to introduce you to my hometown, Monterey, Tennessee. A town like so many other small towns all across this land, really the backbone of this great country. It's full of really good people, Southern belles, and just as fine a people as you can imagine, but like many other small towns, full of nefarious characters and crazy people and drunks and just the things that make our lives interesting on a day-to-day basis. So for the next little while, we're going to take you around to some of the great spots in this town and tell you a little bit about the history of Monterey, and we're also going to give you some great footage because this is on the Cumberland Plateau. We sit right on the edge of it, one of the most beautiful spots in all of Tennessee and all of the South. So stick with us for the next little bit. We're going to give you a tour of my hometown, Monterey, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are at our first stop on our tour of Monterey, Tennessee. We're standing next to our town's most famous monument, and it's called the Standing Stone. The small stone you see atop the monument is all that's left of a gigantic stone monolith that once sat about 1.5 miles north of Monterey, over in that direction. And according to our Native American population at the time, the gigantic stone resembled a great seated animal, such as a cat or a dog, which was accidentally destroyed when they were blasting to bring the railroad through our town. So they took the largest piece of what was left and put it atop this monument several years ago. And it was such a famous thing that this town was originally called Standing Stone, Tennessee. And the name was changed a little bit later on to a Spanish name, Monterey, which means King of the Mountain, which is a little piece of irony that we'll touch on a little bit later in our show. But we thought there was no better place to start our tour of Monterey than outside the Standing Stone. Hello again, folks. Behind me you'll see that there's some railroad construction going on, and this is something that's recently happened. For many years the railroad is what made this town thrive. There's a lot of industry, coal, hardwood flooring, things like that were being produced and shipped out of Monterey, Tennessee. And then when I was a younger man in my teenage years, the railroad stopped coming through our area, and the tracks fell into great disrepair. Recently, within the last year or so, they've decided to build the tracks up again and start running trains again, and then beside that build a bicycle path to bring some tourists to our town and to the Cumberland Plateau area. And now they are rebuilding the trestle here because it was just in such bad repair that it would definitely not hold the weight of a full train. So Monterey, if it weren't for the railroad, would really have just been a wide spot on a dirt road somewhere. But because of this railroad influence, we were such a big town in the 1930s that they had considered putting Tennessee Tech University in Monterey, if that's even something that you can fathom. But we wanted to definitely touch on the railroad, because without the railroad, we wouldn't really have had a town. Behind me is the Monterey City Hall, or municipal building. For about the last 15 years, the town's business has been done inside this new building. And it's the home of the water department. It's also the mayor's office, where the Board of Aldermen meets, and it's also the police headquarters. And to me and most of the people here in Monterey, it's just really a symbol of a lot of the bad political choices that our citizens have made through the years. Because, you know, if you hand somebody a ballot and they really don't know what they're doing, this is really what you get. Here we are outside of Monterey's Uffelman Elementary School, where many of our citizens began their formal education. When I was in school, this building housed kindergarten through the 6th grade, but recently, upon the building of our new middle school here in Monterey, now it only houses kindergarten through the 4th grade. I think that our children here have been offered a very good education, considering that we do come from a small rural town. However, I realized a few years ago that our education system might be in trouble when I realized that only one of the 3 R's actually begins with the letter R. Hello folks. Here we are once again at another one of our town's monuments. This one is pretty new. About 5 years ago, the Putnam County School Board decided to build us a new middle school here in Monterey. I took that to mean that the town was growing in population and otherwise, and they decided to name the school after one of our town's most famous residents. Tommy Burks was a state senator for many, many years and a fixture at the State House of Representatives in Nashville, and he was tragically murdered a few years back, and they decided to honor him by naming our middle school Burks Middle School. And I actually never had the opportunity to attend school here because I'm much too old, but I've been inside, and take it from me, it's a beautiful state-of-the-art middle school right here in the heart of this great small town. Hi folks, here we are at the Monterey Little League field, a place that has held a dear spot in many of our hearts over the years. Many of us got our first taste of organized sports right here on this very field. During my day we had 4 teams. There was the Bank of Putnam County, Citizens Bank, the Monterey Food Center, and the Monterey Civitan Club. I personally played for the Monterey Civitan Club, and I wanted to film here because it holds a special place in my heart, particularly because of a special night I had when I was 12 years old. I was fortunate enough to be facing the right pitchers in the right situation and set a few national Little League records. On that night I hit 2 grand slams in the same inning, 3 grand slams in the same game, and drove in 16 runs in one game. Unfortunately, not everyone who ever played here was that fortunate, because many a great athletic career was probably killed or stunted before it ever got started right here on this this very field, because of you know, the typical things: poor coaching, just complete and utter lack of athletic talent or anything like that. But this has been a special place for many of us through the years, and when there are games going on here, huge crowds here, believe it or not, in small town Monterey, Tennessee, for our Little League teams. Oh, good old Whitaker Park here in downtown Monterey, Tennessee. Boy, I'd like to have $1 for every hour I ever spent swinging on those swings. Whitaker Park has become one of our town's most famous spots for hosting the holiday flea markets that we have on Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and then on Standing Stone Day. Really, it's just been a spot for countless hours of enjoyment for children of all ages here in our town. Full of rides and some nice shade trees and things like that. It's been a really great spot for us throughout the years, and just a spot for many of our first romantic endeavors. For some folks have found some nice quiet time with someone that they were fond of in this park. It's just been a beautiful green spot here in the middle of our town for many years. If you ever come to town, feel free to come by and enjoy it yourself. Hi folks, here we are on Commercial Avenue, the main street of our little town. It doesn't look nearly like it did in the old days. This town, when it was really booming and doing well financially, Monterey was home to several hotels, a bowling alley, a movie theater, a full-scale hospital, all kinds of things. Over the last few years, however, downtown Monterey, the face has changed a little bit. Some of the older buildings are being remodeled, and as you can see, some of the older buildings that are there have fell into disrepair and disuse, but the basis for the history of the town is still alive and well. This is, like I say, the main street of our little town and really the heartbeat. Every person who lives here, if they're out at all on a daily basis, they have to cross over the street or drive down it to get really anywhere. So, like many other towns in America, many small towns, they have a street that'll look very similar to this. And unfortunately, ours is starting to die away. Hi folks, here we are 1 block off of Commercial Avenue, behind what used to be the old hospital here in town. The building you see over my left shoulder, that says Rocky Top General Store, that was the old hospital of Monterey, and just beside of it you see the Old Town Jail. And it's a very small building, and I always was conflicted about what that meant. Either we had very little crime in Monterey and they didn't think that we would need a very big jail, or the police were just so inept that they never could catch any of the criminals. One or the other, I'm not sure which. But two of the surviving buildings from a time maybe 80, 90, 100 years ago that are still around, and someone decided to clean them up a few years ago and to make them look a little bit better than they did. Like I say, some of them had fallen into disuse and disrepair, and it's good to see that some of these buildings are being cleaned up and straightened up and put a fresh coat of paint on them and make them look halfway good again. But the Old Town Jail and the back of the old hospital here in historic Monterey, Tennessee. Hello folks. Our next stop on the tour of Monterey and all its fine sights is Hanging Limb. And Hanging Limb is about 10 miles outside of Monterey actually, but it feels like it's just one big town, kind of like Belle Meade is to Nashville in a way. We thought we'd stop here at the Hanging Limb Free Will Baptist Church because someone rather important is buried in the cemetery next to the church. John Sevier, who was one of the first governors of the state of Tennessee, his daughter married a man from this area, and she is buried just over my right shoulder. Too bad we can't get a shot of that right now, but you understand the story. Hanging Limb is named literally after a gigantic tree that grew in this area. And you know, in the old days when there weren't a lot of police officers and law to be doled out, punishment was rather swift. So it was literally named after a tree where people were hung from. And you know, stories like that get elaborated through the years. You know, we've heard that it was a place where a lot of unfortunately, former slaves met their last days on earth from the Hanging Limb, as well a lot of no good white people as well. So it was just a place where some justice was doled out, and we're proud to be here at Hanging Limb at the Free Will Baptist Church, and we thought you guys might want to see this because it is a rather famous place. Hi folks, here we are at an area that we know as Steel Bridge, and it's kind of a local swimming hole kind of thing. You'll notice the orange kind of color to the water. It's a high sulfuric content to the water because it flows out of many of the local abandoned coal mines in the area, and it has a high mineral content to the water. As in many small towns across America, religion plays a very important part in our daily lives. I mean, this is the Bible Belt after all. And every good small Bible Belt town needs a place where they baptize the citizens. And for a long, long time, this is a place where folks got baptized, including your friend Brent Walker and my mother. As we pan around, we'll see the actual, the deepest part of the stream here where they actually do the baptizing. And then the old bridge, which I know this area is called Steel Bridge, but our bridge is made of concrete. That's because progress is a great thing, and the county decided to build us a new bridge a few years back because the old steel bridge had fallen into disrepair, and it was really kind of dangerous. So now we have a nice ultra safe bridge, and people can come down and enjoy the baptizing hole and even do a little swimming further upstream. And this is Steel Bridge.